Hello, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. Now, for this week, we've got all three of us here again, which is a rarity. Hopefully, it'll be more common. We've got Scott and we've got Sean. The
Hello.
ones that.
Hi guys.
So hopefully, this will be a bit better than the last few that we've done. So I believe Scott's got some things to say first. So we'll roll it off with him first.
Yeah, firstly, I'd like to say obviously that we're very, very sorry to all the listeners and Patreons and anybody who follows us and likes the podcast, etc. That obviously there's been a shortage of us about lately. Unfortunately, due to work commitments, work-life balance, with a driver shortage nationally, obviously it's a little bit hard for all three of us to get on together and let you hear our wonderful voices. John has just had a new baby, so obviously he's new baby, new job, so he's in exactly the same position as all. We are trying our most best to keep this obviously coming for you, but unfortunately this last month or two, it's just been really, really hard due to work commitments and other commitments we've got going. So please bear with us. We are trying to make amends and trying to make it a lot better for everybody, and we are hoping that three of us, if not, we can get more, or trying to get more people joining, and at least we can do a proper podcast what people enjoy. So please accept our sincere apologies that we haven't been available, but obviously work-life balance, like I said, commitments obviously unfortunately come first for the time being. But we're here now, we're here chatting. We've got a few subjects what Jordan's going to shout out what we're going to talk about, but I'll start off with the national driver shortage, as I've just said, which is why we're all working so hard. I mean, you can look at any website in a minute, especially across the northwest, and you'll see the likes of High Peak Buses, Stagecoach, Ritala Stroke Diamond Bus, Little Gem.
I don't know about you,
Arriva.
but I don't work hard.
And my group. There's a lot of bus operators out there at the moment which have always got advertisements for bus drivers. If anybody out there is thinking about becoming a bus driver or hasn't got a license to drive a bus and is planning on getting a license to drive a bus, I would like to say obviously now is going to be obviously the prime time to get out there, get your license, get it paid for by a company, do your 2 years, and obviously the world's your oyster, as one would say. So if you are looking to become a bus driver, check out all the websites for all the local companies in your area, see what's on offer, see if there's anything what shouts out to you, and obviously give it a go and help us out get rid of this national shortage of bus drivers. I mean, something needs to be done very, very soon. I mean, especially now we're coming out of COVID and obviously passenger numbers are picking up, which we'll get onto more later. So yeah, if you want to be a bus driver, get your application forms in for whoever, get your license sorted out and join the crew.
Make sure you can add.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, make sure with that you've got basic English, speaking skills. You've got a tiny little bit of technology knowledge, so you can work ticket machines and whatever else.
Well, you were struggling with English then.
Yeah, make sure that your on the spot maths is good. You can do. Someone gives you a £5 note. They've got a £2.10 fare. They're getting £2.90 change. Little bits like that.
I thought it was £2.80.
There's always one, isn't there?
That's why I'm always short when I'm paid in.
Oh dear. Yeah, is the shortage, as Scott says, and the best time is to sort of start now. Really, I mean, I know even my group we're fully staffed and it's still overtime crying out, and I know Stagecoach and the others are crying out for overtime all the time. I can't walk through the door without being asked, and I'm sure there's some companies you can't even go home and not mind over the phone with. Can you just come in and do this? Do you mind doing this before your shift?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's one of them. I believe the next one that Dave chose out for us, considering he's the one that seems to have picked our topics this month, is the driving standards have worsened after COVID-19, as too many still treat the roads as a racetrack.
No, you see, Jordan, I'd quite happily agree with you. Obviously, saying that obviously driving standards have changed dramatically.
Oh, very much.
Since pre-COVID. What we've got to take into account, though, is that these idiots were all on the road prior to COVID.
Yes.
What we've noticed is obviously is once COVID started, you had the likes of lockdowns and you had the professional truck drivers, ambulance drivers, taxi drivers, bus drivers, basically key workers who were out there taking people to and from work, using the roads and using them to how they're supposed to be used, obviously in a safe and reasonable manner.
Yeah.
What I think's happened is we've got a lockdown and people who've not been driving for 12 to 18 months because they've been in lockdown, not to use vehicles, are now getting on the road, treating it like a racetrack, and they're forgetting everything what they've learned.
Yep.
They're all driving like Sunday drivers.
Yeah, but can you call an Eddie Stobart driver a professional?
Well, depends what they're doing.
Well, normally hitting a bridge.
See, but then with this, you know, I'm not going to say that everyone's like innocent about this, because I know that bus drivers, you know, you say with lockdown or whatever, you know, they were driving professionally and stuff, but the roads were emptier. You know, they didn't have to worry about swinging, you know, hugging a corner as they're going around it, whatever. You know, they could swing wide and whatever else. You know, there's all of that. So everyone, even if you're working or, you know, not working, everyone's guilty of bad driving. But as you say, with people that haven't been driven, all the, how can I say this politely, all the tools have come out the woodwork and are back on the road driving like idiots.
Mm-hmm.
We've all experienced it. We all do upwards of 10,000 miles a year on the road.
And the rest.
Well,
I hate to think driving the bus so many miles. I mean, I've done 185 miles today.
Yeah, but Scott, you're lucky if you meet any people where you drive.
Yeah, but you still get the country roads, you still get the nice scenery, you still get every now and again the odd farmer and his tractor coming out with a trailer full of horsemen yours, blocking your road.
You chose the high peak life. The high peak life didn't choose you.
The high peak life is a good life. That's all I can say at the moment. It's a good life.
So it's
Up in the hills and far away. I mean, it sounds like I'm a Teletubby. I've got the belly for a Teletubby.
You look like one, so you fit in.
I was going to say, I've got the belly for a Teletubby. But obviously, yeah, I enjoy going over the hills and far away. Further away, out of sight, out of mind, the better.
Which one are you, Tinky Winky? Or
Dipsy.
Dipstick?
Nah, Dipstick, yeah.
But no, I agree with what Sean said. Obviously, yeah, drivers taking risk. I mean, even professional drivers, yes, I'll agree with that. What I've noticed in recent months, and this is going to sound really sexist to say, so obviously I don't care, we're going to get the comeback on this or not. Female drivers, in my opinion, used to be fairly good drivers. And obviously some people may disagree. Obviously, you know the thing, women drivers are the worst drivers in the world. But you must admit, yes, they take the time, they concentrate, and I think they used to be a lot more aware of the surroundings of what used to be going on around them. But just of late, I've noticed that there's a lot of female drivers taking selfies with the little trout pouts.
Got to get a good selfie.
Yeah, taking selfies on the phone, messing about, pissing about with electronic equipment, obviously. I seen one woman the other day, must have been like wireless hair straighteners, doing her hair, and I'm thinking, God, yet you see a lot of the younger male drivers now.
We've seen one doing
cradles. The phones are in cradles on the thing. They're driving more sensibly. It's like we've had this sort of, after the pandemic, after COVID, it seems like there's been a flip where it's now the responsible drivers are young male drivers, and the irresponsible drivers have turned to be the young female drivers. They're just absolutely horrendous, in my opinion, at the moment.
I'm going to have to disagree but agree at the same time.
That's because your missus can't drive.
No, it's not. It's nothing to do with that. Women are far less confident, but then succumb to distractions easily. Hence the phones, the straighteners, and whatever else. But they also want the bragging rights with, "Oh, look at me, I'm driving a brand new Audi or whatever." You know, all of that.
See, that's how my mum sets off for Salford and ends up in Middleton. Yes, Scott's just got that one.
Man, that Blackpool via Leeds.
Well, yeah. The thing that's always baffled me is the car salesmen, to why they seem to want to sell the elderly with the world's biggest cars possible.
with
They'll
the
go
biggest of engines as well.
Yeah, they'll
Do you
go
know
in
why
with a
that is?
shot
Do
of
you know
ability.
why that is? Do you know why that is, Jordan?
Go on.
Because they know they'll sell the big car. They know that straight away. That old couple are probably going to do no more than 3,000 miles a year, going to and from the shops, getting the shopping. And in 3 years' time, when they come to part, 3 years' time when they come to part exit, they know that car's going to be worth a small fortune.
That's if they get it that far, because half of them crash it.
Well, that's another thing we could get into a discussion with. What age should you hand your license back? If you want to go down that road, you could start saying about old people driving. Should old people be on the road after a certain age?
I think
Because, like you've just said, people crashing all the time. There's a lot of elderly people at the minute, in my opinion, shouldn't be on the road.
Not even crashing, just spatial and road awareness. They've got the vision is usually impaired, so it's not as good as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
They get confused and lost easily, but their spatial awareness and what's going around them isn't always there. But
I think it should be
with
like
that, they also get very, very bad road rage.
I think it should be like it is as the professional drivers, which is when they get to that certain age, they must keep undergoing a medical to be able to drive. But I don't think it happens periodically enough that any ability to not be able to drive is picked up on. But I don't think there should be an age that you should hand your license back, because some people could be in the 90s and be very capable of driving. Where you could have someone at 50 who was capable of driving, who then no longer can be capable of driving because they've got something.
Okay, then. All right, Joe. Let's go for another option. How about it should be mandatory at a set age?
Well, what is it on the?
Let's just say mandatory for a set age from the age of 70. Yeah, every 2 years, you have to go out and do a driving assessment with a driving instructor. There's a documentary on Channel 4 about 2-3 years ago, and it had a 92-year-old man. I think it was all 100-year-old drivers. I think it was called, maybe.
Yeah,
100-year-old drivers. And they went out with a driving instructor, and the driving instructor said, "Yep, you're still capable of driving the vehicle. You've done very well." And then another driving instructor said to another lady, "I think you should hang your driving gloves up now, because obviously you're a bit of a danger on the road." So maybe they should implement something like that. And then, fair enough, don't take the rights away from him. But at least if a driving instructor says, "Look, I think it's time to hang your gloves up," give them the option. You can't forcibly take a license off them unless they're unfit to drive. But maybe a driving assessment every 2 years, even if it's an unpaid driving assessment. I mean, driving instructors make a fortune. The government make a fortune, and obviously all the rest of the stuff. Maybe if they did something like that, it'd make the roads a little bit more safer.
Yeah, it would mean how often have you been stuck behind an old person that you know shouldn't really be on the road? You see him. We seen one the other day in a car park, but they could barely walk, but yet they got in a big 4x4 car. The 4x4 car was damaged to hell, and you're like, at that point, they should just hand it in.
But then you've got the whole thing of discrimination. Then you get in.
Yeah, but it's really making the roads a safer place.
It is.
Discrimination Act, especially when you get a free bus pass.
Well, yeah. Which then TFGM charge £10 to use the trams and trains on top of that, which we won't get into. But
yeah, but the thing is, it's £10 a year travel, Sean.
Yeah,
£10 a year for them to travel is pretty much
nothing.
Peanuts. If they're paying for car insurance every year, let's just say for argument's sake, an old person's car insurance is £200 a year, all inclusive. Yeah, fully comprehensive, £200 a year. And then you've got the fuel costs at the minute. They're probably looking at what? Call it £50 a month in fuel, because they're probably not doing that many miles, but £50 a month in fuel. That £10 is going to be saving them over £1,000 a year in hindsight. Yeah. I can understand, obviously, discrimination, obviously, saying that you've got to take the license off them, but maybe not discriminate, but maybe educate them.
Yeah.
I think it's the right word. Let's start educating.
I can say this because of the age that I am. You get all the young uns like me that think they're Billy Big Balls, don't care, go overtaking people, will go swerving through traffic, will go, in and out of people swerving from lane 1 to lane 3, back over to lane 2, into lane 3, over to lane 1, down the motorway, and whatever else.
Mm.
You know, I don't do it, but I can talk for people my age that do it because they don't care or don't have any care for other road users.
All right. Well, if we look at obviously the road safety situation, then look at Australia. I think they have a green card and a pink card.
Yeah.
So maybe then young drivers, but is this going to be discriminating young drivers? It's turn around and say, look, you can have a license, but for the first 6 months or 8 months of you having that license, you can only drive from the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the evening. You can't drive it on the evening, and you're restricted to carrying one passenger at a time.
I think
And after 6 to 8 months, they then go on to a pink card, or they get an extra added addition where they can go driving any time of the day, any time of the night, and again only carry one passenger, and it gets upgraded to a pink card after 12 months driving, where they can drive with a car full of passengers.
With that,
I think it reduce accidents quite a lot. I think it reduce idiotic behaviour because they've got to prove they can do it, and they can get fined for not following the rules and all the rest of stuff. A lot of the time, it's showing off.
That has its pros and its cons.
Made difficult.
Yeah, it'd make work very difficult. My first job was working in a hotel. I'd start at 3 in the afternoon, finish at 11 at night. So that would mess me up straight away. So rather than having something like that, you have it so it's crucial within the first 2 years of someone driving, as much as it's horrible, a black box, which still allows you to drive outside those times, but then it actually reaps its rewards for having that box, because sometimes you don't see it. My girlfriend had one for her first year. Her scores weren't the best because she was driving outside, in horrible hours. The way the speed worked, it was comparative speed. So if let's say 10 people drove through one area where it was a 30 miles an hour zone, drove through there at 20 miles an hour, then she gets penalised for doing 30, which increased the score. But then a second year for car insurance, the first year was £2,000, the second year was £800, and she's a brand new driver. So, but with that, the first year she was sticking to the speed limits and whatever else, driving sensibly.
See,
I would say.
I never had a black box. I've never had one. The only one I've had is the girlfriend's when I was driving her car. I hated it, but it did make you drive safe. Yeah, but I got with you saying it don't bother you. I had never driven with a black box before. I had driven for 2 years before she got a car, so I'm used to driving how I want. Everyone gets their own driving style. You'll go around the corner doing 25 in third when you should be going around doing 15 in 20, whatever, because you know your tolerances of your car and stuff.
Yeah, but you see, my black box, when I got mine, there was no really limits to it. There was no nighttime curfew. You didn't really know it was there. And to be fair, I drove the way I drive now, and it still didn't. The only time it clocked me is occasionally when the GPS decided I was in a 30 zone when I was on the motorway. But even then, they never bothered with it because they just look at the data and was like, oh, he's on the motorway.
Yeah.
So
it's swings and roundabouts, but my eyes, first 2 years for a driver, give them a black box without a choice, and they have to have it. If not,
the other thing they could do is go like they do with the motorbikes and limit the size of engines.
Yeah,
I was just about to say that. If not a black box, limit them to 1 litre engine every year.
But
then, the first 2 years.
But then with that, you've then got the side of what stops them from remapping it. Because I know I can get a 1 litre car tomorrow that's, let's say, 100 brake. I can get it remapped, do a couple of engine mods, which I don't have to declare. You meant to, but you can't. There's no way of proving it or whatever. I'll get it remapped and easily push 200 brake on it.
Yeah, but then you've got to go down the situation of what if you do get pulled by a VOSA? What if you do get pulled by a police officer who knows what he's looking at? What happens if you are involved in RTC? Something serious happens and you find out you have got all them modifications. Your insurance is null and void.
Yeah, but there's there's loads of them that do it nowadays. There's loads that will modify my car. There's 2 mods straight away that I can think aren't declared, which you have to legally declare. Mud flaps. because they weren't on there from standard.
Mm-hmm.
I've modified the stereo and reprogrammed it and then added a subwoofer. Although it doesn't affect the driving, it's still a modification. I haven't declared it.
Mm-hmm.
Is my insurance void? Technically speaking, yes. But do insurance companies mither too much about it? No.
I don't think they'll
Depends who
bother
you
too
with.
much about that.
No, but
I think modifications like that, obviously, where it's not engine power or performance, I don't think an insurance company can look at because
but-
you're not going to be much more of a risk.
well, then with my old car, I had about 20 stickers on, and everyone knows each sticker adds 5 brake horsepower. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, why didn't the insurance do anything about that?
It's,
All right, well, let's go down the road then. Let's just say the black box then for the first 2 years of driving.
Yeah.
It might sound unfair, but do it. But
Nope.
then after 2 years, are you going to get these what were young drivers with a black box driving like lunatics because they can now? Or do you think they would have calmed down enough and realised what's the point of speeding?
It's one of those never-ending loops. You
Oh.
pros and your cons of it.
or they could do the other simple thing to what they and actually make the driving test harder rather than easier, which is what they've done in recent years. They've made it easier for people to pass a driving test. I mean, like they got rid of the 3-point turn manoeuvre.
And now, although
No one can do a 3-point bloody turn now.
yeah, well,
It's about a 12-point turn, isn't it?
Well, I'm pretty sure.
But then again, a 3-point turn isn't actually a 3-point turn. A 3-point turn is a turn in the road, whether you take 4, 5, 6, or even 15.
But they've got rid of that manoeuvre completely in the driving test in place of following a sat nav.
Yes.
Which
Well, that's ridiculous.
I can get why they do it because it's teaching you to drive with a sat nav and not be distracted and being able to follow the instructions, not end up on some tram tracks or in a river.
Yeah, but the argument I've got with that is the other day I was coming back on the motorway with my partner, and he was driving along on the motorway, and some stupid cow with a sat nav, following the sat nav, come straight into our lane, nearly took us out.
Yeah,
I'm just grateful that obviously he reacted the way he did, and obviously managed to avoid a collision. But the woman was driving like a loon. She was paying more attention to that little small screen when it was telling her to go than what she was to where she should have been going and what she should have been doing. It's a distraction.
So it shouldn't have been the turning manoeuvre in the road shouldn't have been replaced with the sat nav. The sat nav should have been added to it.
Exactly, add it. Make the driving test an hour and a half long rather than 60 minutes long.
Yeah.
But then they've also got the thing of I'm sure in the highway code somewhere it should say that you should park facing the way that traffic is flowing. So if you're driving down the road, you don't park and pointing into traffic.
Yeah, but that's a should. It doesn't mean you must have to do
it.
it.
It's not a must.
But now on a test, they make you pull onto the opposite side of the road and reverse and then pull away from the wrong side of the road, which that is just encouraging it.
Yeah, but you should still
isn't. I think that's more for obviously making sure that you're alert and that you're alertness because you're pulling out into oncoming traffic then, aren't you?
But with that, why not just make it like European countries where you actually do get penalised for being on the wrong side of the road sort of thing?
See, I think they should do something like this. And I agree with what you're saying, Sean, reference to parking. I was always led to believe if you're parked on a highway and your headlights are facing oncoming traffic, if a vehicle smashes into you, you could be held liable because you've got no reflectors.
Well, there's that as well. Yeah, you've got the dazzling of drivers with your headlights because your headlights defaultly point to the left-hand side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Which Pratt goes and puts LED bulbs in it that isn't made for the headlight, and then you're blind every sod coming towards.
You get LED bulbs that haven't got a beam pattern, which blind people therefore causing an accident.
But coming back to the parking topic, there's that road on the 199 that's that 50, isn't there, between Chapel and Whaley. You've got the people routinely parking in that 50 zone, and you're supposed to put lights on. You park with lights on at the hours of darkness, and they don't.
I mean, for anybody who's got a newer car or a modern vehicle, not an old one, but a modernish sort of vehicle, your parking light, basically, once you come to a stop and you've turned your engine off and you've applied your handbrake, turned the engine off and your vehicle's ready to go, whichever side light you want on,
you just put your indicator on.
Up. So if you want your offside light on, you put your indicator stalk as you're turning right. If you want your near side marker light, or let's call it, or side light, or warning light, you put your left indicator on,
Yep.
or near side. It's simple to do, but
Yeah.
again, like I said, a lot of people aren't knowledgeable about this. A lot of people don't know that.
Because there's that trucker, isn't there, in Whaley Bridge, who he parks his truck outside the station. He's got like a little cycle light he puts on whichever side of the road he's parked on.
Yeah, and it just flashes constantly.
Yeah.
Well, this is the same with skips and stuff, because skips aren't lit up. Skips should have a light on.
Skips by law, if they're parked up on a public highway, should have traffic cones around them and should be illuminated with some sort of warning beacon.
But they tend not to be.
And if they're not, you could report it to the police.
Yeah.
It's a criminal offence, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong, so don't hold me on that. But as far as I'm aware, it's a criminal offence to have a thing like that because it could cause death or serious injury. Just double check it.
Well, while you're double checking that, shall we move on?
I thought you was double checking. I heard you tapping away, Jordan.
Not me, Sean.
Ah, Sean's checking then. I can't check. I'm on the bloody phone.
Sean's asking Google.
Hey Google. Hey Google. Carry on.
So, right. So, next subject. What do you want to talk about? Obviously, next subject-wise. Obviously,
well, the next
we haven't done any for a while now, which is a bit of a shame. Is Q&As.
We can do them at.
So I think we should do.
Because it's still got.
Yeah. So I think we should do some sort of Q&As for the people who want to obviously ask questions and obviously get the answers, all the rest of the stuff. So next podcast, we'll obviously make sure that we let you know a week before or 2 weeks before, obviously, if you've got any questions. And obviously we can do Q&A and obviously figure that out because I think that worked quite well last time.
Yeah.
So one of the points Dave's brought up was obviously aging fleets. So obviously how companies are coping with aging fleets and the inability to secure or purchase new vehicles. So the thing what I'm looking at there is prime example. But where I am, we should have had 2 new vehicles delivered last year. We should have had 2 new vehicles delivered at the end of September, beginning of October. Due to the pandemic and the shortage of chips or microchips or whatever they are, and the shortage of lots of other things.
There's a chip, loads of chips. Don't know what you're on about.
They've had issues, obviously, obtaining 2 new vehicles. We got the 2 new vehicles, I think, at the end of March, beginning of April, was it, Jordan?
Yeah.
So we got 2 new vehicles then, obviously delayed by near enough 6 months due to a shortage of chips and due to a shortage of parts. I mean, there's a lot of issues at the minute with aging fleet vehicles. I mean, obviously, I think a lifespan of a vehicle we've discussed, well, I know it's in TFL was 14 years, wasn't it?
Yes.
7 years, it's halfway through its lifespan. Generally get a repaint and a sort of retrim, all the rest of stuff, make them look smart. And then they've got another 7 years.
I think up here it looks they aim for about 15 years. Is a lie. I was
say, if you look at some companies got, I mean, I've seen 06 plates, 04 plates.
I was going to say, I think they have give that a bit of leeway because I know that there is operators up here that are running 55, 56 plates.
I mean, I've seen some old buses being operated a bit, but like you says, for the time being, I suppose there isn't much really we can do. I mean, there's a shortage of new vehicles, there's a shortage of chips.
It's
like then again, there's a shortage of drivers to bloody drive them. So what's the point in ordering new when you've got no drivers to drive them anyway?
The other problem is a lot of the new vehicles, they're so high tech and complicated that they're just crap, quite frankly, and they overcomplicated them and they're not very well built. I mean, you can get on a bus that's 20 years old and it won't rattle and it'll go like the clappers, it will work the way it's... You can get on a brand new bus weeks after it's just come out of factory and it's rattling like hell and it's broken.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think new buses obviously are built to last these days. I mean...
They're definitely not, no.
No, let's look at the... It's like anything. Everything doesn't have... It's good engineering that you used to have years ago. It's made with as cheap for parts as they can to make as much profit as it can. Because prices haven't changed, but parts, they're using cheaper parts, they're using more plastic.
Well, look at what you got. You got the right bus with the you got your street deck and you got your street lights, haven't you? So you got your
Street
MT
shite.
vehicles.
The street
Street
shite.
shites. Yeah, I've driven both of them vehicles, and to be quite brutally honest with you, they're restricted to 42 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I think they've got a Mercedes engine in the back of him. They're restricted to 42 because at 2,000 revs, they're really revving their ass off anyway. You drive them around, and you look at them vehicles, and if it had a better engine, or if they had better engines, I think the vehicles, to be quite truthful, whether you want to slag them off or not, I think it's the engines what let them down. The vehicles themselves are quite nice to drive. And they feel like they're quite solid vehicles and like they are built to last.
It's a right.
And then you go down the other spectrum, you've got Alexandra Dennis.
They'd shed some wheels.
And then you think, bloody hell, how can two companies have two different buses? You got one which is built like it's fair enough. It's not got the premium feel. It's built to last. Obviously, the right street decks and street shites and whatever else. But they don't rattle after 6 months. They don't rattle. They stay quite solid. As in an Alexandra Dennis vehicle, you get that from like Jordan just said from factory. It sounds sweet as not. It's solid for about 6 weeks, 7 weeks at the most, and then the rattles start, and then it starts getting worse, and it goes from the rattles to the vibrations. And you think, years and years ago, you can go and get a Stagecoach Magic Bus, 2004, 5 or 6. And it doesn't rattle as much, and it still feels quite solid. Yet you get onto one of the newer Alexandra Dennis buses, and they feel like they're going to fall apart after a few years.
With this,
and they built like this, obviously, purposely, to get new sales more, or they built like this because they're not fit for purpose, or have they done it purposely to get rid? Because I suppose the Alexandra Dennis recycle quite easy. It's just aluminium panels.
I think we've got a prime example. We had the Volvo B10, which was a 1998 December it was built.
I think you're going to bring up exactly what I was about to say.
And apart from the chassis being rotten, the actual bus itself drove very nicely. It didn't rattle. And then yet we've got a 98 Dart, which is essentially it's only a year older, and that rattles like anything. But then on the same foot, I hate to bring them up, but Callum had the old 4-plate Dart, which didn't rattle at all. So is a lot of it down to operators looking after it as well?
See, with that though, I'd also like to bring in, let's say, if you look back at your Volvo B10 and look how rotten the chassis is, but then you go back 10 years before that and look at a Leyland.
Yeah.
Look how strong Leylands were and still are, and a lot of the chassis, even if they've not been looked after, are still a lot better now than the B10 was or whatever. And that's due to the metal that was used was better and higher quality and stuff. You know, there's all that side to it. You know, it's cheaper parts, cheaper products, and whatever else.
The hand built.
Same as Atlanteans, I suppose, isn't it? Atlanteans are exactly the same.
Yeah. But they were hand built, weren't they? They weren't built. The newer buses are built off a shelf, essentially. Everything's just slotted together, where no two Atlanteans, no two Olympians were ever the same, because every single one of them was handmade by a bunch of people working round the clock to get them together.
Yep.
So
I think maybe maybe bus builders should take obviously some of this into account, or obviously should listen to what people are saying, or should at least go and test the vehicles out, what they sell. I mean, I'm sure that once the vehicles are sold, all they're interested in is profit. That's another 10 ADL sold, that's another 10 street shite sold, that's another 10 street deck sold. I'm sure all they're looking at is profit. Maybe if they went out on one of them vehicles after 6 to 8 months of being in service and realised how bad they were,
no, because
could make a difference.
No, because with that, no one cares about that anymore. It's all about that initial cost and then making money from parts after that. It's like, this is totally a different subject. A Lamborghini. You can get a Lamborghini oil filter for £68. You then go for a VW or an Audi one. Go for an Audi one, because they're all the same cars. You get an Audi one, which is for the same engine. It's only £30. So then you've got tax on that, because you want one that's got a Lamborghini badge on it, but the one for the Audi is exactly the same. Why? They're the same parts. It's the same with buses. It's all about profit nowadays. No one cares about stuff lasting and whatever else.
We're having that issue now, aren't we? As we're trying to find parts for ours, everything's expensive for it.
All it's about is not longevity. It's about how can you make the consumer pay. And it's like that with anything nowadays.
But the thing is though is it's just you say that, which is understandable. You look down and see this is why you've got vehicles on the road with rattles. This is why you've got vehicles on the road with things which aren't looking proper on them. And it is down to obviously they're saying the consumer will buy it, but the consumer doesn't want to buy it. Or at the moment with the parts section, what's going on? I mean, we've got a vehicle that was involved in RTC. The parts have been all up for that now for over a week and still haven't arrived because of a shortage of parts or a shortage of labour. So I mean, yeah, there's money to be made, and it is money wise. But I think a lot of the, like you said, a lot of the time it's just profit.
Yeah,
it's all anyone. It's true. It's all anyone cares about now.
It is.
It's not about making something last. It's about can we get money in? Can we get money in now? Do we care how long it lasts? No, because the consumer is going to come straight back and buy something else, buy it again.
Yeah. Oh, pardon me, I yawned.
Well, you could go down that road as well as you've got other roads that you can go down, like the seats that they provide buses with these. I know a lot of it's down to operators' choice, but some of the seats they provide are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely horrible. I mean, that latest Chapman one with the rotary knobs instead of the levers, it's a pain in the bottom to adjust.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I like my air ride seats, to be honest. So
I don't.
we've got air ride seats on our Optare. So
yeah, we've got air ride seats on the Mercedes, what I drive.
Well, they've put them on. We're getting them on all our buses.
I mean, I like them, but sometimes, I mean, bloody hell, it's like being at sea.
When they go forward, yes. So, yeah. Should we move on again?
What have you just let rip then?
No.
I was saying that someone who let rip. I was going to say you dirty sods. On live as well.
Dave,
oh, there you go. It's somebody's chair.
Jordan's.
It's the bed, apparently.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's Natalie moving around on the bed.
So, right. So we've got off with that. What Dave said, we saw the rest of the stuff. So let's go off with what Dave's got about concerns for driver safety and all the rest of the stuff.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. So Dave's put a comment about obviously concerns for driver safety, stabbing, etc. on a serious increase, buses being bricked in certain areas, conflict, all the rest of the stuff. So, what I would say to that is touch wood. The company I operate with, obviously, it's a local bus service, and it's a service what the local people need on a daily basis.
Until you get down the A6 and you get people that brick the bus or shoot a BB whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the majority of the time on the vehicles, or the areas what I'm in, you've not got much risk, or you'd like to think you haven't got much risk as such, because unless you're getting told off by a little old David walking stick because you're 10 minutes late, that's as much issue as you get. Now, obviously, I know on other routes and obviously other services, I'm not going to say operators' names, obviously, for reasons, but I've known of an incident where a fight broke out on a route, and I found this out 2 weeks ago. And the driver who was waiting for the changeover was told, "Your vehicle's not ready because it's covered in mud." And the fight broke out. And the fight broke out in the vehicle. The driver was stuck in his cab, couldn't do anything, and all hell broke loose. Now, driver safety, yes, he's got an assault shield, he's got all the rest of the stuff, or she's got an assault shield and all the rest of the stuff, but it's still not stopping somebody putting a hand through, opening that door and getting at you. You're in a trapped area then, once you're in that cab. I think there's a lot of, my personal opinion, I think there's a lot of security concerns, full stop in the bus industry at the minute, obviously on certain areas, like it's obviously Manchester City Centre, Bolton, Wigan, Blackburn, Burnley, wherever it may be, they should have some proper tactical police force where they are going like the TFL. I mean, Transport for London. If there's an incident on a bus with Transport for London, as soon as they put a call through, they'll have a police officer attend that vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's treated as a grade 1 call. It's treated as an emergency. Greater Manchester, you're in the police up and you're on hold for 5 minutes before they answer the call on a 999 number, and then you get through to the police and they say, we'll send the unit round when we can. Well, I'm sorry, it's too late. You've been on hold for 5 minutes on a 999 call. You've got somebody who's got an offensive weapon or a blade, an article on your vehicle, who's just stabbed a passenger, and then that's it, you're stuck. I know of one incident, and again, I'm not going to say the operator, but I remember one incident where I had to deal with an incident where somebody put an emergency call through a radio, and somebody had just been hit over the head with a hammer. He was on the way to court to give evidence, and the driver got stopped at a bus stop. 3 lads jumped on the bus. One of the lads had a hammer and put a claw hammer through another lad's skull.
Nice, sounds like a nice bunch of people.
The bus was escorted back to a depot. Police escort back, and obviously CCTV obtained. But there's stories like that, and it is getting pretty scary on the roads. I don't think people care about bus drivers that much anymore. I mean, I personally have noticed from when we've been in lockdown, the pandemic, we were the best thing since sliced bread. We were the best people in the world. We took people where they needed to go. We kept the little old days company on the once a week shopping trip because we was allowed out once a week, and they enjoyed speaking to the drivers. And now everything's getting back to normal. Passenger numbers are increasing. I think passenger attitude's increasing as well. You're not getting the same respect as what you was getting 12 months ago. You're getting a lot of disrespect now, and obviously it's not going to be long before it boils out of control, in my opinion.
I'm safe where I am.
I'm safe where I am. I would like to think I am.
So am I. I'm not a bus driver.
Yeah, it's. I know a lot of the bus companies they deal with the antisocial behaviour on the buses by normally just redrawing the service, and that normally sorts it out because the locals to whatever estate that the bus has been cut from normally have a
Deal with it internally.
Yeah. But it's not really the answer, because then that means that dear old Doris that wants to go visit a friend and is late back has to walk through an estate where she's more vulnerable.
But most of the times, it's the parenting that causes it. You know, going on for youths and stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's parenting that isn't the best and, you know, causes them to be antisocial.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. Well, I think we covered that then, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think it's the little darlings about, obviously. Well, then again, saying that, it's going to be law in Wales, and it's where parents can't hit the kids anyway. So,
very much so. Very much so.
I think a lot of what's got, like I said, a lot of it now is it's down to education, and it's down to the parents teaching the kids right to wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you don't see many parents teaching the kids right to wrong. It's horrible to say, and it's horrible to see.
Because most of them say the kids can go out and don't care what they get up to because out of sight, out of mind sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're not in that
Exactly.
causing food and costing money sort of thing. They're out on the streets doing what they do. The parents don't see it, so the parents don't care.
Well, let's get down to the things like we said before about drivers driving erratically, all the rest of the stuff. Where I'm from, at the moment, you can see quite a lot of, obviously, scooters. You can tell they've been stolen, or off-road bikes. The scooters, you can tell have been stolen, no number plates on. You got idiots driving around like lunatics, running red lights, cutting through traffic, and all the way in his balaclavas. I think, again, like you said, if parents knew what the children are up to, would they care? Or is it one of Manchester Evening News stories? Oh, Billy was such a good lad. He had lots of friends and his family adored him. He was doing such well at school and he was going to be a prime footballer.
Just as he was not.
Well, I'm sorry.
By HGV.
He was knocked off his motorbike, not wearing a crash helmet, wearing a balaclava, and he'd robbed an old lady 2 days prior.
No, but
and he's on a stolen scooter.
yeah, with this, it isn't just kids that are the trouble. As me and Jordan found out the other day, that there was a nice guy in a mocha with a nice private plate on his mobile phone, flying through red lights, swerving in and out of traffic, and didn't care.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I
this
still
is
need,
what I'm saying. It's
Not enough police on the roads. There's not enough traffic police on the roads.
I think they need to bring more traffic police back.
but with that, it's all about this cuts and whatever else. But police nowadays, someone's not like there was someone yesterday. I was coming back from Withenshaw, come down Princess Parkway because Kingsway's closed. There's a police van that I followed all the way down because he had his rear fog lights on, was blinding everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then he saw someone with no lights on.
Mm-hmm.
All he did was pull up with the person that had no lights on, and rather than checking the vehicle out, it's just a case of turn your lights on. And at the same time, I told him that he's blinding people and he's got his fog lights on.
Mm.
But if you go back 20 years ago, someone that didn't have the lights on, they'd do a full inspection of the vehicle, make sure everything's out right, check all the documents, because it's one of them. Whereas nowadays, that's too much paperwork. So it's a case of turn your lights on, mate, come on, and then pisses off.
But you see, following that though, a lot of that is now a lot of the police don't want to bother because people then get the phone out and start recording. You don't have the right to stop me and all that, but they forget that the police don't do enough to clear up the fact that a traffic stop is completely different from a stop and search.
Yes.
A stop is a traffic stop. They're allowed to stop any vehicle on the road to make sure you have the correct credentials
And
to
they can.
that vehicle, and
well,
you
it's
are
like-
the person that is supposed to be driving that vehicle.
Yeah, well, it's like with that as well. Your car at any point in time, or even a bus, any vehicle at any point in time, should pass an MOT there and then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you see loads of vehicles out now with sharp edges, crash damage on them, and you think, how is it still on the road? It shouldn't be on the road.
But then you've also got these companies that'll do these places that'll say, give us 80 quid. Right there, you've got an MOT. Don't even look at the car, don't do nothing.
I mean, how many people do you see with only the one
Where's
brake?
the sat, Sean? I could do with them myself.
Yeah, but you see,
I'm joking.
you see
I'm
loads.
legit.
You see loads of them like one brake light working at the back, or even none. And you can tell them they're like, and
They don't. It's it's not like it would be. Let's go 5 years ago. Oh, thank you for that. I'll get it sorted. Or people that it's like a headlight out. How can you not notice that you've got a headlight out?
Yeah.
I guess we're going down to smart cars. Most cars these days, if you get a headlight out, I know mine does, it flash on the dashboard.
Even just brake light out.
Headlight out, brake light out,
Yeah,
fog light out, indicator light out. A lot of new cars will tell you there's got a fault. I mean, a lot of new cars will tell you if you've got low air pressure.
Do you know something? Going back with you saying new cars, I was in. Obviously, I work for a hotel. We park for guest cars and whatnot. I was in a 2009 Fiat Punto, so nothing special, and it was bog standard. And
that's come down from a Lamborghini, isn't it?
Yeah, but on the dashboard it says check stoplights.
Yeah.
And that's going back to a 13-year-old car. So people should have no excuse.
No.
They shouldn't.
Like I said, I agree with what you said about more police. I think we definitely need to get more traffic police on the road. I mean, bloody hell.
There need to be
let's put it this way, when I was younger and I used to drive around, you'd be lucky if I wasn't stopped every other night.
You need to have more.
I was pulled every other night. My little Ford Fiesta XR2i, big bore exhaust on it. Every night, if not every other night, I was getting pulled over by the police.
I didn't know you was a chav.
I know. Did you have it declared to your insurance?
It was fitted with a vehicle. I bought the vehicle, so as I'm not mechanically minded, as far as where that comes factory.
Do you know something? That doesn't work anymore.
No.
Well,
even if your car has been remapped and you buy it with that map already on it, it is your responsibility to take it to a garage and go, has this got a map on it? If you say I bought the vehicle like that, that doesn't work anymore.
Oh well, but back then it was good. It had a brake box, it had a CD player, and the rest of stuff. But yeah, every other night I'd get pulled over, and that was without even speeding. I think it's just boy race a car or a little chaff car and pull it.
But then I used to be one that'd speed regular.
Mhm.
I've never been, I've never been done for speeding, and I've never been pulled over.
Mm.
I have.
I've got no problems with the police. If they want to pull me over, it's not like I drive off or whatever. But I have never been pulled over by the police.
God, I think they're what's called traffic police. There used to be loads. But the worst one when I got pulled over, I think I was doing 125 down the M60.
Jesus
And
Christ.
I seen a big car behind me, thought nothing of it. And then as I come up to another junction, it lit up like a Christmas tree. It was a police car.
And you went,
I
oh,
remember.
shit.
I pulled over straight away. I
See,
remember the copper saying to me, "Where's the fire?" I remember saying to the copper, "There's no fire, but there's a break in what I need to get to." And he went, "Okay then, mate, just follow me." And I was like, "Get in there!"
but with you going on about traffic police, there is far more police going around in unmarked vehicles, and the unmarked vehicles that you wouldn't expect.
No,
Well, I've
not
seen a couple
me.
myself lately, unmarked vehicles, and a lot of them have got bloody Arlo Clark stickers on the back of them, or hire cars.
And that's the key. They want to blend in to be able to catch people doing
Yep.
it.
But
It's a
then,
good thing.
I did see one that it's very common. You see them in Manchester. Your LJ and LB. I think one's LJ64CA. That's unmarked police car X5, and then there was one. It's like LB21XBJ or something today. And cars like that stand out a mile. When I was bus driving, I spotted a Golf R police car from a mile away just because of where it had the blue lights in the rear bumper.
Yeah.
But they have got a lot better at disguising them.
They have.
A lot of them now in the bloody back windows, aren't they?
Yeah.
Tinted black windows, you don't see them till they're lit up.
Yeah, even more so because to blend in even more, they're purposely putting illegal tints on. They're going around in Audi S3s,
Well, I was going
Golf
to say,
R's.
I was taken over by an Audi RS4
Yeah,
estate the other day on the motorway. It must have gone past about 200 mile an hour.
yeah, but
It's just
then
like a blur.
they're also going around in clapped out old cars to blend in as well. I know Manchester's got a 2010 Ford Mondeo that's unmarked.
Not seen one of them in ages.
Yeah, so they're going around in a bit of everything to try and catch people out, which is what it needs.
But we're getting a bit now closer to the end. We've nearly done the hour. So I don't know if, and I know Scott hasn't been fully up to date with where we're up to at the moment, but I don't know if we want to do an update on where we're up to with our vehicle.
I'll let you guys give an update quickly. I'll stay on for another 5 minutes or so while you give it.
For those that can be bothered to listen to the full 50 odd minutes and get
Well, they
it.
probably turned off at the first 10 minutes, to be fair. If you've got this far, well done. Please press 1 for a prize.
So, recently we've been doing the fuel system. We've had all the injectors out. We've cleaned the injectors. We attempted to start the vehicle 2 days ago. It went semi-successfully in the fact that it ran. It did choke out anyone that was at the back of it at the time, but it ran. It did sound like a canal boat, but it did run. Then the fuel return line on the pump decided to break, so that then started peeing fuel all over the side of the engine. Today, that line has been bodged, so we can see if everything's working correctly.
It's not been bodged. It's been repaired, just not repaired with the metal pipe that it should have. It's got a temporary fix. Yeah.
But that has discovered that it looks like the fuel pump has decided that it's checked out after probably the full since it was on since 2005 when the engine was reconditioned. It's just give up. It's tired. So we're now looking at having to replace that. That's where that bus is up to, because we've not done much because we've been faffing around with the fuel system. But it doesn't leak fuel anymore. It just doesn't put it where it needs it.
But what also doesn't help is us not being able to have time, as we said at the start of the video, with us working and having private lives and whatever else.
No, very much so.
We all have family. Well, work comes first. Well, family comes first, then comes work, and then comes hobbies.
Yeah, very much so. But that's where we're up to with it. There's not much we can do without the bus running. Unfortunately, the batteries are nearly flat now, so we're going to have to find a way to charge them, which will more than likely be taking them off the bus and bringing them to our house to charge them. But yeah, that's that's pretty much where we're up to with that. It's been quite an uneventful. Well, it's been eventful, but it's been uneventful in the sense of making content for it, because we had that issue where it'd start, but then was choking itself out, and it looks like it might have been choking itself out because the fuel pump was maybe on its way out at the time. So when you put your foot down on a cold, it just didn't want to deliver the fuel it needed.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll get it repaired shortly, and it will be out on the road ready for at least the start. Hopefully, at the latest, the Great Harwood show, because I know we're definitely going to that in a bus or in a car. We'll go into it no matter what, but we prefer to go in the bus.
Why?
You what?
I think we've just lost Scott.
So do I.
Yeah, I think we've really just lost him. And on that note,
don't forget we've got merch, and you can find it all on the website at mancbuses.com. You can find us on YouTube if you've managed to find this just randomly on Spotify. We've got merch, ways of supporting us and supporting the project and helping get the only 1998 Dennis Dart from Rosendale on the road and working, and keep it on the road. It's a prime example of back in the day, and it's the only SLF left alive from that period, because the other one is in the scrapyard with a tree growing out of it. So as we've lost Scott, I think that's thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. And
Hello?
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Sorry. Yeah. As we're saying, you've just said, don't forget the big spiders, Jordan.
Oh yeah, the big spiders on that bush. Yeah. There's been some monsters that I've discovered behind the seats on ours. Never mind on the one that was in the scrapyard.
Sorry, but the big up new bus.
Yeah. So yeah, we get in there with it, but it's just a very slow process. A big issue that we're finding is getting parts. With it being a Cummins, it's a big American style engine, and buses don't come with a Cummins engine anymore. So you're trying to get parts over here is becoming quite difficult. Not impossible, but I was speaking to the guy who runs Dennis Dart Parts Place, and he was saying today that a lot of his parts he finds cheaper to order from America, pay the import taxes and everything else on them, and sell them that way. And it's still cheaper than getting them from Cummins in this country. And that's how ridiculous it is.
And that's saying something, yeah.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to say I'm going.
That's where we was up to when you come back on.
All right, was it?
Yeah.
I do apologise, that lost me for a moment.
It's fine. We're used to losing you.
Typical bus drivers getting lost, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did no one tell you the diversion?
What diversion?
Or you turned left after that field of sheep that the farmer moved last week.
I thought it was cows.
Oh, cows, whatever animal was supposed to be in that field that he's moved.
Right, guys, I'm definitely going to have to go because my phone's going to die.
That's clever. I'm charging, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Scott and Sean, and thank you for listening, you guys at home for listening. And we'll be back next month. Another podcast. Hopefully, we'll try and get a few more of us on. Once again, this was planned quite hastily, but it's definitely gone a lot better. So,
if there is any professional drivers, truck, bus, who may want to join us on a podcast, contact Jordan via his YouTube channel, and hopefully maybe we can get other guests on.
I will just correct you slightly there. Contact us at admin@mancbuses.com. You can find the email address at mancbuses.com. You can find all the details on there. Links will be in the description of this. And you can find all the information on how to contact us or how to support us on there. There you go. So, thank you and goodbye. Say goodbye.
See you now.
Bye.
Bye.